Every lottery ticket purchase keeps education in our state moving forward. In fact, the lottery has raised more than $200 million for state school buses to get our students to school safely every day. Then, the lottery helps those students go even further in their education by funding the Life, Hope, and Palmetto Fellow Scholarships. So remember, when you play the lottery, you're keeping South Carolina students on the road to success. Learn more at sceducationlottery.com/betteryou.
Hello, iHeart listener. We have a confession to make. Both iHeart and this commercial you're listening to right now would probably sound a heck of a lot better on the new Roku Pro Series TV. It's got side-firing speakers that fill your room with sound, Dolby Atmos audio that puts you right in the middle of the entertainment, and the ability to pair seamlessly with your home theater sound systems that already have surround sound and booming bass. If all that sounds too good to be true, it'll sound even better on the new Roku Pro Series. Your hearing isn't better, your TV is.
Deciding on what to listen to is hard. Using Zumo to stream music from iHeart 90s radio is easy. Or play iHeart Country or Hip Hop Beats. Your choice, all for free. Stream easy with Zumo Play. Get live and on-demand entertainment with no logins, no signups, no accounts, no hassle. This February, stay in and watch Glory starring Denzel Washington and Matthew Broderick, or the rom-com Breaking All the Rules with Jamie Foxx and Gabrielle Union. All streaming free on Zumo Play. Go to play.zumo.com now. Life is hard. Zumo is easy.
All right, into the final hour before Super Bowl 59. Hey, Jess, everything's sounding good over here. Looks like my man made a play. Thank you. Welcome back to the Friday Football Feast into the final hour, PA and Charch. And now, as I mentioned earlier, 22-year official in the National Football League, Gilbert, Minnesota native, and also spending 2 decades, right around 2 decades at the college ranks to get the opportunity to become an official in the National Football League in the mid-'80s. Our friend Bernie Kukar worked 2 Super Bowls, including the one the Vikings would have played Denver had they not blown the late 10-point lead and missed that kick after the 98 NFC title game. And the other he worked was one of the most memorable in the history of Super Bowls. The New England Patriots were massive underdogs to Mike Martz's Greatest Show on Turf. And here comes Tom Brady, the little-known Tom Brady. And they pull the upset in a super entertaining game. And Bernie Kukar was the referee in that game. And here he is. You, my friend, you are so awesome to come by. I know you don't live in the cities. How did we fall into this piece of fortune 2 days before the Super Bowl? Not us, but the world talking about officiating. And lo and behold, Bernie Kukar's in town.
Well, I came into town, unfortunately, to go to 2 funerals. One of them was for Willard Eichela, the Edina hockey coach who won 8 state championships. And I was just talking to your compatriot here about that. He's from Eveleth, Minnesota, and I'm from Gilbert, which are 3 miles apart. The Iron Range. All of us Rangers stick together, believe me.
Is Eveleth where the Hockey Hall of Fame is?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Listen, and Gilbert is 3 miles from Eveleth.
Got it.
That's the what they call the Tri-City of the North, Eveleth, Virginia, Gilbert. Now the high school is called Rock Ridge. They combine those 3 towns.
Yeah.
And then the second one I went to would be Tom Perrault in St. Paul, who was a good college official friend of mine. He was on... we worked a lot of basketball games together, and he also was the timer and or scorer for the Gophers and the Timberwolves.
Wow.
And he was the assignment secretary for the MIAC. So he had set up all new officials for those various leagues. And unfortunately, he was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer a year ago and went through all the things, the chemo and the radiation and all that. And he was very positive. And the last time I saw him, he organizes a group of officials from Minneapolis and St. Paul over at Mancini's every year right before Christmas. So I saw him on the 15th of December. He was very positive and upbeat at that point. And then,
is anything at Mancini's ever really organized with
never.
Johnny and Pat Mancini? I mean, it's probably not the great thing, and it's immortality for restaurants off West 7th.
It is.
And with Johnny and Pat, I know Johnny better than his brother, but I've known him forever, probably like you. Not the greatest thing in the world to say to a current National Football League official, but to a former one, I can. The problem I have going to Mancini's is every time I walk walk in there, I feel like I owe 4 people $1,000.
I always love that one.
When his dad was
gone amiss.
When his dad was running a place, when you walked in there the first time, he always bought the first round.
Really?
Always.
Yeah.
But he liked officials, and now, of course, they have the Mancini Hall of Fame and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
So it's always fun to go over there.
Okay, now, Bernie, there's a lot of Covenant catch-up to do here. You always have awesome stories
You're
to
going to
share.
talk about the Super Bowls?
But there was a story, interestingly, before you and I chatted earlier this week, that popped yesterday. And I think it's an important story. It was written at ESPN.com by a lady named Kaylin Kaler, who's at the Super Bowl. I'm just going to read the lead, the first paragraph, but the lead for you.
Okay.
And then we'll see what you think about this. Because, again, Bernie was 22 years an official, 15 a ref, right?
Yes.
Okay. And 2 Super Bowls. And this is, he's one of the most well-respected officials in the history of the National Football League. Here he is with us. Kaylin Kaler writes, now for this year's Super Bowl, 2 officials on the crew who will be presiding over Super Bowl 59 are in their 3rd season of NFL officiating, which 2 former league heads of officiating, Pereira and Blandino, said is a notable difference from the custom of prioritizing experience for the Super Bowl. In the past, NFL officials have needed 5 or more years of officiating experience in the league to qualify for Super Bowl consideration. Now they're talking about an umpire for sure, maybe a back judge. So 2 of them in the NFL, 3 years. Hey, you get to do the Super Bowl. What do you think of that?
I'm with the guys that you just mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
5 years should be the minimum requirement, and it changed when Pereira retired. But that's what the rule was back in my day, and I see a reason for that. I'm telling you, get into these playoff games, and of course it's no tomorrow, so the players are much more cautious. You don't usually see a whole lot of penalties, and they know that there's no tomorrow, so they don't do stupid things. And same with officials. There's a lot of pressure in these games. You get to the Super Bowl, and in my case, you knew there was something like, 110 million people from the United States watching that game, and about 800 million worldwide. So you don't think there's a little pressure and you're standing down there before the coin toss?
Wow.
The hair is standing up on the back of your neck. And unless you've been around for at least 5 years, I don't see how they could possibly do that, but they did it, and I hope nothing bad happens on the field.
Okay, so Mike Pereira, lastly here, Mike Pereira, who was the NFL's vice president of officiating for a handful of years, and right at the end of, when was your last year?
Last year on the field was 05, and I retired in 06, actually.
Got it. Well, Pereira was your boss from 04 to 09, so a handful of years.
Right.
He's now a rules analyst for Fox. Everybody knows that. He said yesterday, quote, that is a huge departure, talking about 3 years of experience.
Yeah, it is.
Because if the threshold was 5, that doesn't mean it was just 5. The official been doing it 10, 15, and 20. Oh, Bernie, you get your opportunity to do this.
Yes.
But Pereira says, I always felt like it took 5 years to get to the level to where you'll feel comfortable going in front of thousands of people. And now you've got not only a 3rd-year official, you've got a 3rd-year umpire who worked the NFC Championship game in Philadelphia. When I saw this, I was very surprised. And clearly Bernie's very surprised, too.
Yes. Well, in my day, and probably just more recently, 2-3 years ago, what they would do with the guys that were going to be in the Super Bowl, they'd usually give them either a first or a second round game because they didn't want you off for 5 weeks.
Right.
And now, like you just mentioned, now they got a championship game and a Super Bowl, and I don't know how you can possibly justify that. I really don't.
Why?
Because of the pressures.
Yeah.
And is it fair to the other officials that might be rated as high as this guy? I don't know what they're doing for ratings anymore, but in my day, we were rated on every single play of every single down all season long, every single game. And at the end of the year, they would add up the total points, and the guys with the highest number gets a Super Bowl, and the second guys get the championship game and so on. But there were some other options there that they also took into consideration. That is, they wouldn't give you 2 consecutive Super Bowls. And I actually was the victim of one of those. When I had Super Bowl 36, Pereira told me I was also rated number 1 the following year, but he can't give you 2 in a row.
Wow.
Yeah.
And back again to the 5-year limit, I was a back judge in those days, and McNally told me I was the number 1 rated back judge my second year, but he said, I cannot give you a Super Bowl because you need a 5-year gap there.
Yeah.
So, and those are in there for reasons, believe me. And it comes down to fairness for the other officials and the pressures that go along with this. It's just, I'm at a loss to understand why they did that. And I'm with Pereira on this one.
Well, you're talking about the 2-year rule?
Yeah.
Now, do they keep they keep the crew together, right? The whole crew goes. They don't mix and match. They do. They mix and match, and they
start that in the playoffs.
It's an all-star. It's an all-star in the playoffs.
So tell me about that, because you've been working the same crew all regular season, and now the playoff comes, and now you've got all these other people that you haven't worked with before.
Okay. All right, I can address that. Here's an example. I have every year I told Seaman or Pereira, put a rookie on my crew, because I want to make sure these guys get off to a good start.
Awesome.
So we go through the season, and we got a rookie, and we had maybe a 4-year guy that's having a little trouble, but the rest of the crew is doing gangbusters. The crew is rating high. Now, do you want to give those 2 guys a Super Bowl who shouldn't be on it because they're not around long enough or had a bad year? And that's why they do the all-star stuff.
Okay.
So, and it's based on the ratings. And I think that's the way to go. And as far as, maybe it's different. Every one of those guys that were in the Super Bowl with me had about 15 years of experience.
Wow, 15?
Yes.
In both your Super Bowls, there was no other official that had less than 15 years of experience.
Yes.
And this one's going to have 2 people that have 2 years of experience.
Yeah.
3. And it's not just, hey, they're good at making the calls. They're good at they have anticipatory skills, which are really important for you guys and underrated.
Yes.
But they don't, because the interaction with the sidelines is so underrated in an official's equation, especially with no tomorrow. But it'd be like Bernie or his guys. Well, you know what? It got really hot these 9 times, and they handled it perfectly every time. The league would be like, you know how we know? Because this coach was asked about it, and here's what he said.
Yes. Well, I'm with you all the way. It's not just the rules and the mechanics. Everybody can read a rule book, and everybody knows the mechanics. It's called control of the game. Yep. And you have to establish those guidelines fast in I don't care if it's a regular season or playoffs, but in the playoffs, it's more enhanced because, again, what we said, there is no tomorrow. And as you see in the playoffs, right up to the Super Bowl, there is a lot of pressure on the players, and you saw how many scrums they had out there.
Yes.
And if you have officials that haven't known how to handle those things, and I'm not saying who they are, but there are officials on that field that sometimes don't quite know how to handle those pressures, those scrums, or whatever you want to call them.
Yes.
So
right.
That to me is very important. Control of the game. Everybody can read a rule book. Everybody knows the mechanics, or they wouldn't be at this level, first of all.
Yeah.
So controlling the game. And what I would do before every game, I'd walk out. We all do that. We come out on 45 minutes before the game and do a walk around and check things out. My job is to make sure there's no problem areas on the sidelines. And a lot of times the TV cameras would be up too close to the sidelines or to the end zone. You have to move them back because, a wide receiver bearing down a whole 500 miles an hour and catches the ball and whap right into a TV camera. Everybody's going to have a problem with that. And one time when I was at Green Bay I think it was a playoff game, they had constructed temporary seats right up to the end zone. I had them dismantle the seats before we start the game.
Wow. Did you have to talk to Mark Murphy?
Yeah, right. Those are sold seats.
Did you go right to Mark Murphy?
They asked me then, what are we supposed to do with these people? I said, well, standing room only. Get them up there. They don't care. They'll probably see better up there.
And then you went out for the coin toss of the overtime, and Matt Hasselbeck said, "We'll take the ball and we're going to win."
I knew you were going to bring that one up.
And then Al Harris picked him off, and there he goes.
I couldn't help but laugh.
Yeah, it's the best
and
ever.
as you well know, what happens the first play?
Yeah,
interception.
Pick six, touchdown the other way.
Oh, that's the best.
So I wanted to run to Hasselbeck and say, "How'd that one work out for you?"
Oh, jeez.
I didn't dare.
Okay.
He was already in a bad spot at that point. He didn't need you coming down on him at that stage.
All right, Bernie. So I know you're not social media guy, but you follow the news and the sports news and specifically football very, very closely. So you know the talkers and the opinions that have taken place up to this game and really throughout the postseason the last couple of years. The Chiefs get all the breaks. You know, Roger Goodell basically came out and paraphrasing said, and I loved how he did this, you know, it's ridiculous what you're saying, the way you're saying it. He didn't say it this way, but basically you're accusing people of fixing games, which happens to be a felony. So you're basically accusing people of committing felonies. Why don't you just come out and say it, which nobody will.
Yeah.
But for the Chiefs, now let's lay this out like this. You just take it wherever you want to take it.
Okay.
Kansas City Chiefs in the postseason since 2021. Okay, all their games 2021.
Mahomes era, basically.
Yeah. So we'll start 2021. There have been, in the playoffs, 41 accepted penalties against Kansas City, 72 the opponents. The Chiefs have been dinged for 340 penalty yards through those 11, 589 for the opponents. The opponents have had more penalties called on them in a playoff game compared to Kansas City, 11 times. It's 11-0. You play the Chiefs in the playoffs, you're going to have more penalties called on you. That's just how it is. More penalty yards. The Chiefs actually had fewer penalties called on them, but more yards in one games. So that's quite tilted. What do you think?
Well, what I think is the Chiefs might have better coaches, and they're coaching their guys not to commit fouls.
Right.
I mean, you can't go out there and just generate fouls. They have to be doing it. The officials, I can tell you, half the time I don't even know what city we're in. It's either the whites or the colors. Mm-hmm. So Kansas City, okay. Who were they? They were the guys with the red. But to say to an official, you're favoring this team, we don't have time for that. I'll tell you what I have to do before the ball is snapped on any down. I have to go I have to, first of all, look at the clocks to see that they're functioning the way they should be or they should be shut off. That's one of my responsibilities.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Then I go from the left tackle to the left guard to the center to the right guard to the right tackle to the quarterback to the two running backs. So my head is going like this before the ball is snapped.
Mm-hmm.
And then
every play.
Yes, every single play. And then as soon as the ball is snapped, and I can determine whether it's a pass or a run. And all I got to do is look at the linemen. If it's a pass, they're dropping back. Mm-hmm. If it's a run, they're either pulling or going forward. So that tells me right away I don't have to worry about much anymore. If it's a run, then I look basically where the point of attack is. Because let's just say if the left tackle is over here and he pulls a guy down and the ball goes off the right tackle, we don't bother with those. It has to affect the play. It
didn't affect the play, right?
Have to affect the play.
Yeah.
So if I see it's a pass, then I back up because these guys are coming off the corners and they're coming pretty fast and they're pretty big. So I got to get out of the way, first of all.
You ever got hit?
And then if you can envision this, all five of these offensive linemen back up. They're all 6'7" and 320 pounds. So what I see is like a blank. I can't see anything back there other than the quarterback. Wow. So I can't tell what's going on. We're up along the line of scrimmage. It's hard to tell that. And when I was with, after I was off the field, I worked for the Vikings for a couple of years when Leslie Frazier was there, and he'd always have me down in Mankato talking to the 90 guys and the coaches about what officials do and how are they officiating and who's responsible for this, that, and everything. And when I went on, I'd say, all right, let's talk about penalties. And I'd say, okay, what do you think is the most common penalty in the NFL? And some guy from the back of the room would always yell, holding. And I go, absolutely, it is holding. Yeah. Where does that usually occur? Between tackle to tackle, once in a while out wide. So I said, that's my job around the quarterback. I have to watch the quarterback. So I said, okay, here's 4 red flags. that I look out for. I can't possibly move my head that fast. Like I told you, I got to go through 7 or 8 guys. So when I see a passing situation and I see the left tackle getting beat, I know he's going to grab that guy and tackle him because he doesn't want to get his quarterback killed. So I said, okay, that's one of the things I look for. Secondly, I say if your arm is draped around a guy, what do you think you're going to do with that? Take it down? You're going to grab the shirt and pull him. Mm-hmm. So, or the third one is a double hook. In other words, you grab on each side of the shoulders and turn. These guys turn, twist, or pull. And I said, that's what I'm looking for. If you don't do that, I'm not going to even bother to look at you. I don't have time to do it. So don't do one of those things. And okay. And then my favorite was...
And that's during the game.
Oh, yeah. And then my favorite was, the coaches loved this one. I said, what's the second most famous or second most penalty called?
False start.
False start.
Yeah.
I'd say, you got to be the dumbest guy on the planet to false start.
Oh, come on.
You know the count. Yeah, you know the count. And if you forgot, can't you look down the ball and see if the ball's moving or not? Just don't do that. And usually you see these guys, it's usually the tackles because they want that extra step back to get a start when these guys coming off the corner. Yeah. And I said, if you don't do one of those things, we're not calling it. And I want to talk a little bit about that false start business because I think they're gone way overboard. And I wish the competition committee would look at this. And that is when you see these guys, one of the linemen or one of the running backs, little flinch and then reset, they want to call that a false start. Well, the idea behind a false start is the offense is getting an advantage.
Right.
But if nobody from the defense is coming, how is it an advantage?
Yeah.
So all these little blurps, and that bothers me. And I'll tell you why that happened. A guy by the name of Jerry Seaman.
Uh-huh. We know.
Well, he was a referee, and he loved to call the false start. And in my day, we wouldn't call a false start if a guy flinched and reset and nobody came. Because what advantage is it? Zero. But Seaman wanted it called every time one of these little flinches occurred. And, I can't believe that the coaches aren't up on this one and say, why don't we go back to the old style where if nobody comes, it's nothing. Mm-hmm. So I think I'll send that into the competition committee. The competition committee, they set the rules. I don't know what it is now, but in my day, 3 coaches, 3 general managers, and 3 owners. And they would discuss what the rule changes might be for the next year. And then I was sitting in on these meetings a couple of times. They always wanted a referee in there. So if they changed something, they would ask us, how are you going to officiate this?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I was in when Mike Holmgren was still with the Packers, and he was the head of the committee at that time. And they went through all their stuff and blah, blah, blah. And then finally, when it was all over, he turned to me and says, do you have anything? I said, yeah, I have got a couple of things. And I said, why in the world do we have 5 different penalties for illegal touching of the football? And they all looked at me with a blank stare. They had no idea what I was talking about. So
I don't know what you're talking about right now.
Illegal touching. Okay, pass. Hits the lineman. That's illegal. Mm-hmm. Downfield on a punt. The guy goes out of bounds, comes back in. That's illegal. So there were 5 of them. So I said, why isn't it just one penalty other than 5 different ones? And they look at you with a blank stare, and I said, change it to 1. So they did.
Oh, good.
They don't actually change it. They make the recommendations to the owners,
right, and
the owners go along with it. And then they said, well, you got anything else? I said, yeah, I got one more. And they said, well, of course, what's that? I says, why do we have a 15-yard and a 5-yard penalty for a face mask?
Right.
And they go, because they put his hand up in there. I said, what's the original intent of that rule? That is to prevent a guy from grabbing that face mask, turning and pulling the guy's head so you don't break his neck, basically.
Yeah.
Why do you have the 5-yard that slips right past it?
Right. It's
nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when they limited the 5-yard face mask penalty.
Which is great. I like that you were pulling penalties out of the NFL, Bernie. I love that.
And now we got to get back to roughing the passer.
Oh, Bernie. It's so bad right now.
I don't even want to talk about that.
It's ridiculous.
Why is it called roughing the passer, not touching the passer?
Glancing.
Well, I'm sure the owners say, we don't want these guys hurt because they're big money boys. Of course, they're making $40-50 million a season.
But still,
you can tell when it's actually roughing back there.
And the other thing, Bernie, when these quarterbacks start running downfield, we've got they're now using that slide to their advantage and trying to draw personal fouls on the slide.
Yes, they are.
We got to stop that too.
And a lot of them, if you notice, they do it at the very last possible
minute. That's
second.
Right.
You can't have these guys on defense turn in midair. It's impossible.
Thank you. That's exactly right. Exactly right.
That's why I'm not on the rules committee.
All right, Bernie, you worked 2 Super Bowls, 36 and 33.
Yeah.
There's a notion out there that the refs swallow the whistle in the biggest games, that you call fewer penalties in the biggest games.
That is true.
Is it true? And is it a mandate, or is that just human nature?
It's not that they're swallowing the whistle. It's that the teams do not commit as many fouls. Like I told you, they know there's no tomorrow. Mm-hmm. In my first Super Bowl, 33, I think we had 4 penalties in it.
Jeez, 4. That's it?
Yeah, 4.
We had 4 in the first drive now.
I called 2 of them. Speaking of that, we should talk a little bit about those, because 33 was Elway's last game. Yeah. He retired and that's the one, of course, that the Vikings were supposed to be in when they got beat by Atlanta. And there's a little story behind that, because
there are a lot of stories behind that one, Bernie.
I was sitting at home, and was it Seaman? Or I can't remember. He must have been Seaman. He said that I was the #1 rated official, and I'm going to the Super Bowl if the Vikings don't win.
Don't go. Yeah. That's right. I was going to ask you that. If the Vikings would go, if you'd have been...
I'm watching this game with my wife.
Yeah.
And I see Anderson line up.
Go, Chris Chandler.
And I go, oh, my God, we're dead. And he misses it. I jumped out of the chair. And
Bernie!
I was the only guy in Minnesota rooting for the Falcons.
Right. Yeah. Well, you were rooting for Bernie.
I wanted to
go. For the Falcons.
I didn't care about the Vikings. I wanted to go.
Yeah, I understand. Gilbert, Minnesota, go crazy. Let's pause for a second and Chad, continue the conversation with longtime National Football League referee and official, Bernie Kukar. Gilbert, Minnesota native, 22 years as an official in the National Football League. And in our final segment with Bernie, there are some interesting topics, let's just put it that way, into which we will dive. But first, we have this.
The Fan wants to give you a chance to put $1,000 in your hand with the National Cash Contest. Go to KFAN.com, enter the keyword PAY, P-A-Y. Might win $1,000 if you enter the keyword PAY at KFAN.com.
Have you ever wondered what it would be like to have supervision, enhanced hearing, extraordinary reflexes, to be, dare we say, superhuman? Well, Roku's new Pro Series TV can't do any of that for you. But with a 4K screen, side-firing speakers, and a blazing fast refresh rate, it'll sure feel like it. Elevate your entertainment using all your favorite apps like iHeart, and play all your music, radio, and podcasts with the new Roku Pro Series. Your senses aren't better. Your TV is.
Time for 2 more.
9 to noon. Football Feast.
Bullseye! Fire away. Bernie Kukar, former National Football League referee in the 651 Carpets Plus studios with 9 to noon.
Before you get into this, we started with the Super Bowls. I thought Super Bowl 33. Let's go to Super Bowl 36.
Sure.
The reason I mentioned that is...
Jermaine Wiggins leaping over somebody and you missed a hold on the play. I'm just kidding.
No.
Help the Patriots win.
Isn't there a guy by the name of Brady that was kind of playing as a quarterback?
Yeah.
Well, anyway, it was not the starting quarterback that year. It was Drew Bledsoe. Mm-hmm. And he got his chest caved in about the 5th or 6th game, if you recall.
Yep.
And Brady was a rookie. He was a 6th-round draft choice from Michigan. I don't think he was a starter until maybe a senior year. So nobody really knew him, basically.
Yeah, right.
Anyway, the very first game that he becomes a starter to substitute for Bledsoe, I had that.
Oh, you
game.
had that game?
Yes.
Like 4th game of the year, right?
Yeah, 4th or 5th, someplace in there. And then, of course, we get to the Super Bowl, and I have that game. So a guy from Boston with I think it was Fox.
Yeah.
He finds out about this, so he brings me out to Mall of America and wants to interview me and so on and so forth.
Wow.
So I go out to Mall of America and he says, okay, I understand that you had Brady's first regular season game and his first Super Bowl. I said, yeah, that's correct. I said, who are you talking about? He said, Brady. I says, who's that? He
Right.
says, come on. I said, listen, he was a 6th-round draft choice from Michigan. Nobody knew who he was. He said, what do you know now? I said, well, I think I know who he is now.
Yeah.
And then,
Right.
okay, as the story reveals, this is tied game, and there's a minute and 30 seconds left in the game, and the New England Patriots have the ball on their own 5-yard line. Brady moves them right down the field, gets in field goal range where it's 7 seconds left on the clock.
Vinatieri.
And I tell you, Vinatieri comes out there, who's a South Dakota State guy.
Yep.
And he comes out, and we're in a timeout now, and TV's doing their commercials. So I said to him, Adam, if you miss this, Stan Marshall's going to kick your butt. And he goes, you know Stan Marshall? I said, yeah. Well, he was the athletic director at South Dakota State.
Yeah.
And I knew him because I worked that league for 12 years. And he says, it's going through.
So hold. Okay. You said that to the kicker.
Yes.
As he was walking out to kick the game tying or winning field goal.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, this day and age more so, I would think, because things are just a little tighter now than they used to be.
Yeah.
I mean, there are people, if he missed, who would get loud about A, and then people would be like, well, the referee should not be talking to my kicker.
Oh, yeah, they'd say that.
Yeah.
Well, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We did a lot of talking on the field back in those days, with the coaches, too.
Yeah.
I mean, I got a lot of stories about the coaches. But
You got to have thick skin. The coaches,
Yeah.
they just unload on you guys.
yeah, but in those days, you could have fun with them, too.
Yeah.
You really could. Now, they go right away. Oh, they run to the commissioner or go to the league office and say, well, you hear what that guy said to me?
That's the best.
But we used to,
This day and age, you're so right.
God. I'm telling you, Billick, remember him?
Yeah.
When he was with the
He was on KFAN a couple of days ago.
Baltimore Ravens, and they were playing Tennessee at the time.
Mm-hmm.
That's when, who was that quarterback that was killed?
McNair.
Yeah.
Steve McNair.
Okay. We're almost and this is a big game because either both of them are going to the playoffs or somebody's looking for home field advantage. I don't remember the details, but Billick, he was an interesting guy, and I always said to him, look, he'd come to talk to me. I said, where's the TV cameras? He always knew where the TV camera. He wanted to be on television. So we get in this game, and they're ahead 13-7. We're coming down to virtually the end, and Tennessee had the ball. Long bomb all the way down to the 2-yard line, and everybody's running to get down there because the clock is running. There's not much time left, and it's down to 6 seconds, 5 seconds. Everybody lines up. The ball is snapped, and McNair dives into the end zone. And everybody think, okay, all they got to do is now is kick the extra point. Game's over. So before we line up, and I signaled touchdown. I didn't see, but one of our
Sounds like a legal formation.
One of our side guys comes running in there. By the way, his name is Tom Barnes. He's from St. Paul.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He comes in and runs. He says, I got a fall. I said, I hope it's on the defense. He says, yeah, it is. And I said, okay, so all we got to do is decline the penalty and give him the extra point, and the game is over because the clock ran out. And he says, well, not quite. I said, what do you mean not quite?
Pre-snap.
Pre-snap.
Wow.
Defense is running, so they try to get on the defensive side of the ball. The guy pushes the center out of the way and the guard to get over there when the ball is snapped. So because of that, technically, the ball is not snapped yet.
Yeah, right.
So I go on a mic, and the place is going wild.
Of course.
I go on a mic, and I say, now, with a play of this magnitude, I need complete silence.
Wow.
And the whole
You said
stadium
that at the stadium.
Dead
Did you
silent.
really? Wow.
Yes. So I explained to him,
This is
okay,
unbelievable.
yes, there's a fall, but it happened before the play actually started. What we're going to do is mark off half the distance to the goal, and that'll be on the half-yard line. And it's an untimed down, the last play of the game.
Yeah.
So guess what happens?
Bumble.
McNair doesn't make it.
Oh!
No, well, I got to back up. Before that happens, Billick, he's running, yells out there, hey, wait a minute.
Yeah.
what's this all about?
Where's the camera?
Yeah. That's what I said to him. Where's the camera? And I said, you didn't give us a chance to get on the line of scrimmage. I said, I don't have to. He said, well, the guy false started in the backfield. No, I didn't. Well, you didn't put the ball down fast enough. And I finally looked at him. I said, Billick, if we don't do this, you're going to lose. And he goes, I knew you were right all the time.
Yeah, right. Okay, let me we only have a few minutes left.
Okay.
I think we saw you at the State Fair.
Yes.
You happened to buy, we put you on the radio, and then you said something I haven't forgotten about, and maybe I didn't hear it the right way. If you or those are under the belief that not referee, okay, white cap guy, the Ron Torbert, the ones that we see on TV and here, officials are skipping levels. In other words, Bernie, he officiated and or was a referee for all levels of college football for anywhere between 19 and 21 years, so 2 decades.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a lot of work and wherewithal and training and timing and everything that takes place there. If you're under the belief that side judges, umpires, back judges, everybody, not the white cap guy, are ascending faster than they ever have. And as a matter of fact, they don't belong being at that level, at that stage, but are. Do you believe that to be the case? And if so, how does it impact the game?
Oh, boy, that's a tough question, but it's my understanding that is happening. Because in my day, you couldn't even get a sniff of the NFL unless you had 10 years of major college experience.
Yeah.
And now it's my understanding from the guys that are still active, that were on my crew, that that's no longer the case. Some of them are moving up relatively quick after 1 or 2 years at the college level and being put in to the NFL. And in my way of thinking, I wish they'd go back to the old way, let's put it that way, because you need that experience. I'm telling you. And as you watch some of these games, and I watch a lot of games, I just shake my head and say, what in the world? Hey, why didn't you call that?
What's consistent where you're shaking your head?
Well, there's no one place that I can hit. A lot of times, of course, it's on the quarterback. We talked about that already, roughing the quarterback. Mm-hmm. I wish they'd back off touching the quarterback and go to that. But those are the referees' calls, and usually the referees are experienced guys. They've been around for a long time. They're not going to. I think there's only one time that they brought a guy in from the college ranks to the NFL and made him a referee right out of the chute.
Wow.
I was a referee in college level in the North Central Conference for 12 years. And it used to, in those days, if you were in they brought me in the league as a back judge, which at that time was the field, in the middle of the field, and that's all the long bomb stuff. And McNally would give you an opportunity, if you wanted to request a move to a different position. And I said, yeah, I'd like to move to referee. Mm-hmm. And he did move me after 7 years. So, But usually on the side guys or the deep guys, they are coming in now a little too soon. I don't think they have enough experience personally. And maybe at some point in time they would be very good. But I see a lot of them that I don't think should be there. Mm-hmm. And whatever the reason is, it's up to the league, I guess, but I wish they'd go back to the old style.
Bernie, you say you're watching football, which is great. You may have seen the Bills game last round with, we don't know, where it's very subjective on where, how far players got. Yeah. So what do you think about the proposal to have automated ball spotting, right? We use technology. We chip the ball. We use technology to know exactly how far forward a player got, exactly where the yardage is.
I don't know if they could really get to that. I think they tried that. They put a little chip in the football, and there were situations where sometimes they hit in there and bounce back.
Yep.
And they're not down, so they're still going. Then they get tackled. Now, okay, did he get there? And they got pushed back. Was a play over? I don't know if they could do it that way. And I thought that quarterback is something. Isn't he a relative of Paul's?
That is Josh and Paul Allen.
Is that your second cousin,
nephew?
Josh?
Yeah.
Anyway, he turned around, if you recall. He had the ball wrapped in his chest.
Yes.
And he was backing it. Well, you saw all the pile of bodies in there. I don't know how anybody can see the football, to be honest with you. But I'll tell you, the officials, I think, made an error on that. And if you look at the first guy came running in, he was about a yard farther north. In other words, he had the first down.
Yeah.
The other guy from the other side was behind that. Now, normally what they should do is look at each other before they start coming in there so they get the same spot.
Because they were off by a lot.
Yeah, they were off by about a yard.
Yeah.
And that's actually a mechanic that they should have been, is looking at each other. And the same thing holds true as like the line judge and the field judge. If there's a pass in between, one guy goes catch, the other guy's going no. They should never signal. Just look at the other guy to see if he's already signaled, and then nod your head what you're going to do, and they both should signal the same thing. So either they're right or they're wrong. If they're wrong, somebody can challenge it.
Yeah.
So those are mechanics in officiating, but I don't know if you could get to the point where you can actually spot to see if they cracked that first down
If
marker.
the technology works, though, Bernie, wouldn't it simplify the life of the referees? Everybody will know exactly where the ball should go, and we take that, that human error element out of it, the subjectivity
Well, I think if we
out of
go
it.
too far on that, you might as well take the officials off the field and do it on TV.
Well, that'll never happen.
Yeah.
Bernie.
Well, of course not. It gets back to control of game.
Yeah.
I mean, you can do that, but when they start tussling each other and knocking each other around, and you got to separate them and all this kind of stuff, and you got to keep all the sidelines back and so on. Of course, you need the officials out there for that, but I don't know if I'm really in favor of that, because I don't know if the what is that
Technology.
word? Technology is there to actually get an exact spot, because where is the line? I mean, they put that orange thing on the or the yellow thing on the TV, but that's not actual. They don't know where that is.
Hey, Bernie, thank you very much for coming by. That was awesome. Safe travels north, and thanks for sticking around an extra day for the radio show. God bless you and your family, and let's stay in touch, all right?
Okay, Paul, thank you.
That's Bernie Kukar, a longtime National Football League rep, super well respected on the state of officiating and more in the NFL. Don't leave.
Hello, iHeart listener. We have a confession to make. Both iHeart and this commercial you're listening to right now would probably sound a heck of a lot better on the new Roku Pro Series TV. It's got side-firing speakers that fill your room with sound, Dolby Atmos audio that puts you right in the middle of the entertainment, and the ability to pair seamlessly with your home theater sound systems that already have surround sound and booming bass. If all that sounds too good to be true, it'll sound even better on the new Roku Pro Series. Your hearing isn't better, your TV is.
I can't wait.
Deep stretch, short on time, program around the corner. Paul Charchi, and you're the guest first. Who do you like to win the game with a point spread, and hit us with up to 3 quick-fire props you love?
Eagles potentially one-sided game. If I could bet in Minnesota, and hopefully I will by next football season, money line plus I'd start giving points all the way up to the max. Philadelphia, the max I can bet is minus 13.5. There is a chance for a one-sided outcome for the Eagles. Favorite props, Devontae Smith, over 4.5 receptions is my favorite prop of the entire Super Bowl. The second, Saquon Barkley, under 2.5 receptions, because they just don't throw to him very much.
The Nords.
Eagles win the game. Saquon runs for a mile. I'm taking a swing on a couple of KC weirdness touchdowns. Justin Watson, 13-1. Samaje Perine, 10-1. PA.
Philly money line. Philly minus 3.5. Philly minus 7.5. I like Philly from between 1 and 6 to win the game. 1 point to 6 plus 325. Longest field goal of the game will go the way of Kansas City, minus 140. And Dallas Goedert, most targets, plus 500.
Goddard has got 99% of the action on his over.
And you have 99.9% of my love and adoration. Thank you very much for helping.
Thank you.
He's Paul Charchi, and I'm Paul Allen. Ladies and gentlemen, from the fighting city of Mankato, started out in Tremont, moved over to Fairmont, and found the big stage in Mankato. Now here he is. Put a wrap on the show, ladies and gentlemen. Big Daddy Khan.
Just listen.
Super Bowl weekend, it's finally here. Annual tally of chicken wings and craft beer, and there's a game, I guess, in the midst of that as well. The pinnacle of spectacle for the NFL. You can definitely call me a curmudgeon, but I'm stubborn as hell on this, and I ain't budging. I don't care about halftime with Kendrick or the commercial shown. I just want to watch football. Leave me alone. Please do not invite me to your party. I can make my own snacks. I'm fat, so they'll be hearty. No small talk allowed until the game's finished as I'm watching my sports betting funds being diminished. But just a couple nice hits and I'll be fine. I got TD props on Watson and P. Ryan. Got her over 50 I'm hoping to get paid on. And riding overs all day on Saquon.
Faith and Goal.
Podcast today's Paul Allen Show or listen back to previous show and interviews by going to the iHeartRadio app or KFAN.com.
The lottery is not about getting rich. It's about helping people, and it always has been. The lottery is what helped raise the Great Wall of China, build the roads of Rome, and today in South Carolina, it's what generates millions of dollars each year for scholarships like the SC Hope, Life, and Palmetto Fellows. The South Carolina Education Lottery is investing in you. Visit sceducationlottery.com/betteryou to learn more.
Hello, iHeart listener. We have a confession to make. Both iHeart and this commercial you're listening to right now would probably sound a heck of a lot better on the new Roku Pro Series TV. It's got side-firing speakers that fill your room with sound, Dolby Atmos audio that puts you right in the middle of the entertainment, and the ability to pair seamlessly with your home theater sound systems that already have surround sound and booming bass. If all that sounds too good to be true, it'll sound even better on the new Roku Pro Series. Your hearing isn't better, your TV is.
Deciding on what to listen to is hard. Using Zumo to stream music from iHeart 90s radio is easy. Or play iHeart Country or Hip Hop Beats. Your choice, all for free. Stream easy with Zumo Play. Get live and on-demand entertainment with no logins, no signups, no accounts, no hassle. This February, stay in and watch Glory starring Denzel Washington and Matthew Broderick, or the rom-com Breaking All the Rules with Jamie Foxx and Gabrielle Union. All streaming free on Zumo Play. Go to play.zumo.com now. Life is hard. Zumo is easy.